This is the age of the multidimensional self.
Hi there, everybody. Today I am very honoured and excited to have a special guest with us for an interview on pendulums, and it's Erich Hunter. And he is the author of many pendulum books. He runs courses, he runs mentorship programs, and he also creates pendulums. He's got a wide range of pendulums for sale on his website, and we'll put his website up for you so that you can go and check it out and look at all his wonderful courses. But hello, Erich, and thank you very much for joining us.
You're
And
welcome. Thank you, Kelly.
oh, it's a pleasure. And if you would love to just tell us to start with, how did you get into using pendulums?
Oh, thanks. Yes, it's an interesting story because back in the late 1990s, I was really on a strong spiritual quest. I'd been studying as a research, like I'd been getting a research PhD, and I had previously been, indoctrinated in the sciences, like at Cornell University and other places where I was spending a lot of time. So, but I had a spiritual side that I was developing, and like most people, I had picked up a pendulum at some point, and it was a little crystal pendulum with a chain, which if anyone who knows me, I don't recommend using those now. But I basically had the experience that like everyone who's a beginner has. I had a crystal pendulum on a chain. I had people telling me that it was dangerous to use the pendulum, that it would open up these horrible spirit worlds and all these things. But I was just curious because I didn't understand what was going on at the time. So I was fascinated by the movement of the pendulum. I felt like I was communicating with things with it. But then after a while, I got very frustrated using it. It seemed like I wasn't getting any accuracy. All the answers were wrong. And so I just gave it up for a long time. And I pursued other interests in metaphysical, healing, spiritual avenues. Anyway, so then fast forward 2012, I decided to follow my spiritual path, and I had been working as an educational consultant in a very like established field in a museum essentially. And so I decided I'm going to pursue my spiritual life. I moved to California. And then I went to Bali, Indonesia for several months, and I apprenticed with a healer there. And then when I came back to California, I was like, well, what do I want to do? Because I had learned all these different healing methods and magic methods and all kinds of interesting things. And so I just started exploring again, trying out things. And one of the things I explored again was the pendulum. But this time I approached it in a totally different way, because I got exposure to people from Europe who were using it in a different way. They weren't just answering questions, but they were also using it to try to, for the essentially the law of attraction or manifestation, like to energize statements of intention.
Yeah.
So I thought, wow, that's really interesting. So I started trying it out and just experimenting. But I was also doing lots of other things too. Like I was trying radionics. I was making radionics machines. I was doing crystal healing. I was doing all kinds of stuff. Pranic healing. Anyway, many different healing methods. But the pendulum was just one of many things I was trying. And I'd spend several hours a day just playing with it. And then I felt like something was going on there. Like I had several pendulums. I started sensing it. So I started focusing more on it, and I went crazy. I think I bought like $10,000 worth of pendulums, and I was like, there's something different about every one of these, and I was like, there's something going on, and I didn't realize it at the time, but I was clairvoyantly sensing that there were differences among these different pendulums. So I really learned a lot about pendulums, but I didn't really know if it was doing anything. So my wife at the time, she is like, well, why don't you just start doing this for things that are going on in our lives? Because I was doing it was very abstract. I was reading these books that were written in German, and they were having all these commands, but they were all very abstract about like your energy system or something. And so I was like, I don't really know if this is doing anything. So I started applying it to my real life, like any kind of situation I was facing. I would start making these statements of intention with a pendulum, where I would take the pendulum and I would say a command like, I witness this situation working out for the highest good, or send love to everyone who I'm going to meet today, or I witness myself, getting, everything I need at the store easily and quickly with divine perfect timing, etc. And so I started doing that. And then after a while, I was like, I think this is actually doing something. Like something is happening here. I'm noticing that there are changes, but I'm like, oh, maybe it's just my imagination, or maybe it's the placebo effect. Because I'd be doing it on people too, and I'd be like, I'd be like, maybe it's a placebo, maybe it's not real. But then at a certain point, like I had a couple of experiences, and one experience was with my wife, and she was like, Eric, this is definitely real. Like, there is something going on here that it's beyond what is explainable, because it was just happening so consistently. Big things that were really odd. Like, yeah, like the moment that we realized it was, we went to an iPhone store with a broken iPhone, and there were like a dozen people before us, and they were turning everyone away, saying, well, your phone is broken, but it's not covered by the warranty, we're not going to do this. So we gave her the phone, they took it, we came back, they said, we repaired your phone, they gave her the phone, it still didn't work, and they
Right.
said, we'll just give you a brand new phone for free. And that's when my wife was like, this is definitely working, because all these other people were like in tears, like they were being turned away by the Apple people.
Yeah.
And now, obviously I would have liked it if it had worked for them too, but it was like so that's what happens is, when I was doing this, like early days, I didn't know what I was doing, I made all the mistakes beginners make, I was very frustrated, and I quit. Later, I approached it in a different way, which I encourage people to do. Is, the questioning thing is cool, and you can learn how to do that to a certain extent, but I have a different approach. It's more about shifting and changing reality. And the key thing is just to start doing it,
Yeah.
and then noticing if there are shifts and changes. So
That's
that's kind of a short version of my story, but it's still kind of
wow.
long.
I had an experience when I first started working with a pendulum. I had a client call me and say, basically, they had a 1.5-year-old son who had never really slept. The whole family were completely exhausted. And could I help them? And I'd really only just started working with the pendulum, but I thought, do you know what? What have I got to lose? I'll just give it a go. I was doing it distantly for them. So I sat down and made some commands, and I wrote a little statement out for the child. And I emailed them what I'd done and everything. And the next day she messaged me and she said, I can't believe it. She said he slept 6 hours through the night.
Wow, that's
And
incredible.
as time went on, he now just sleeps, unless he's got a little bug or something, as children do, but he sleeps all the time now. And I thought, there's no way that child could have known, obviously. So that
Exactly.
really cemented it for me in my mind that this does work. Because before,
Oh
like
yeah.
you, I sort of think, yeah, I'm doing stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've had lots of similar experiences where I worked on either a pet or a person
Yeah.
who was not told that they were being worked on. Like a family member asked me, or once I worked on a dog that was in Taiwan and I was in California, and the owner just asked me to do some things and the dog responded. So, I mean, maybe like the dog could have somehow read the owner's mind, and then there could have been a placebo effect. But then again, scientists would say that's impossible too. So, I had a lot of experiences, yeah, where I'd help someone's kid and I never spoke to the kid. I didn't know who the kid was. The parent or a relative reached out and said, "Can you do something for my kid?" And then there would be a shift like that, and then it's like, okay, that's really odd. They didn't know, like there's no way they could have known. I mean, unless like telepathy or something, but then again, that's not scientific either.
No.
So, they couldn't.
Yeah.
It'd be very difficult for a skeptic to prove that we were wrong, because they would have to agree that certain topics that they can't agree to. Anyway, so
Yeah.
yes, I think that's an important thing. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've been looking at your animal healing course as well, because you said to me earlier you've got quite a background in working with animals, haven't you? Can you tell us
Oh
a
yeah,
bit
definitely.
about that?
Oh yeah, sure. So I've always loved animals and nature. When I was a kid, I was just obsessed with like frogs and snakes and birds and things like that, and I would always be doing it. Then as I got older, I studied biology and I studied the evolution of animals for my research. And then also I volunteered at a zoo as like a zookeeping assistant.
Wow.
I became a professional dog trainer. I lived on a horse farm for over a decade. I have a lot of experience with animals, both domestic and exotic and wild. So it's always been an interest of mine. And yeah, that's why I created that new course. This particular pendulum here is one I created that's really good with animals. My dog actually begs to be healed by it. It's called the 3D healer.
What's the
But
name again?
the 3D healer, because it's made with 3D printing technology. So it's computer generated, and they have a machine that prints it out. But yeah, before we go too far afield, let's give our audience a little sampling of Pendulum Alchemy and like what it is I'm actually talking about here.
Okay.
So if you're listening right now, audience member, and you have a pendulum in hand, just pick it up right now for a second and hold it. And you can hold it any way that's comfortable. Now I have to hold it this way just so you can see it on the screen, but the main thing, there are two factors you need to consider when holding a pendulum for this kind of work. It's you want the pendulum to be able to move freely. You want your hand to be comfortable. And then the other factor, there are actually three factors. The other factor is you want to try to close your hand chakra or move it away from whatever it is you're working on. So let's just repeat. So the first step is you want to get a good grip on the pendulum. Now there are different ways. You could wrap the cord around your hand like that, or you could hold it like that with your, like a chopstick almost. There are many different ways you can hold it. The key thing is just find a comfortable way to hold it where it moves easily and can spin. Then the next consideration, if possible, like try to get your hand chakra, which is your palm of your hand, like either closed or slightly turned away. So that way it protects your energy system. And what we do with the pendulum is we make statements of intention while the pendulum is spinning, or we hold the pendulum over a body part or a chakra and we just let it spin. And that can stimulate, well, both these actions can stimulate a healing response by the body. So, and the key thing about the hand chakra is a lot of biophotons are created here. And the aura has a lot of light too. It's the light body. So you don't want your hand going into resonance with the person who's sick, who you're working on, because light will go into resonance with other light and it will try to match it. So you don't want to do that. And you want to instead stick the tool, the pendulum, into the energy field. So if this is somebody's energy field, you're going to put the pendulum into the energy field instead of sticking your hand. And that's a way that this method really differs from other kinds of healing methods. All right, so let's do this. So you have your pendulum, you found a way that's comfortable to hold it. Next thing is you want it to spin. Now, many people, it will seem like it starts to spin on its own, and that's perfectly fine. But if it doesn't, just gently make it spin, because all that really matters is that there's a spinning action. And then you think of an intention that you want to have occur. So I'm going to make an intention right now. This video on YouTube will work out for the highest good of all people who watch it and the highest good of all concerned. This or something better. And I was going to let it spin around. And it doesn't need to spin very long. It can just be like 3 or 4 times. And then you can say another one. Send love and healing to everyone watching this video. If it's in their highest good and the highest good of all concerned, they'll receive it. Raise everyone's consciousness to the highest levels if it's in their highest good and the highest good of all concerned. So you take your pendulum, you let it spin, you make little statements of intention, and then you always add on if in the highest good of all concerned, or only if in the highest good of all concerned, because the goal of this work is to ask for what you want, but then also to try to help as many other people as you can in that process. And that's to create like what they call win-win scenarios, because a lot of times in the world it's win-lose, like I get this and then everyone else can suffer and I don't care. But there's actually so much abundance in the universe that we can ask for what we want, and we can also make it possible that other people will benefit in that process of us getting what we want. And that's what I've found, and many people who practice pendulum alchemy have found, is that it creates these scenarios. So before we go any further, just
Yeah.
if you're in the audience right now, just think of something you want. Maybe Kelly, I'll have you think of something that you want, and then you can make a command statement. And if you're in the audience, I want you to think of your own little statement of intention. And it's just something short and positive, like, like, I would like to get a new car. I want a new house. I want a new boyfriend. I want a new, I have a perfect job, or whatever it is you want. I want my child to sleep at night. I want to harmonize my relationships with my teenager. I want to have harmony with my boss or my coworkers. Just whatever you want, make a very short statement, and then just add "for the highest good of all concerned" at the end.
There's actually a house just opposite where I live that I've got my
Okay, so go ahead, and if you don't mind, let's have you try that as a statement. And if you need any assistance, I'll give it to you.
Okay, so let's just think about. I'm just thinking about how to word it. So I want to say I witness the house.
That's a good one.
I'm going to say what it is, number 81 in the road I live, being available to me and me living within this house. And I ask for this for the highest will and good of myself and all people concerned. And then I always want to say "it is done" at the end of it for some reason.
You can if you want. It's optional.
Yeah.
There's no harm in saying that, so that's fine.
I guess the next thing, I would just need some extra finances because it's a bigger house than where I live. So would it be right to then say to have the money, the right amount of money for this to go with ease and grace or something like that?
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so I witness myself having the right amount of money to allow this house to come into my reality, and I see myself and my dog living there happily, and I ask that this is done for the highest will and good of myself and all involved.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So this is actually a really great example you gave, and I'll just sort of make some comments on it.
Okay.
So some people might be like, wow, the nerve of you. You want your neighbor's house? That's horrible.
There's no living in it, by the way.
Okay, but let's just say, but if you say only if in the highest good of all concerned, or for the highest good of all concerned, it will only work if it's in their highest good too.
Yeah.
So that's one of the key teachings of Pendulum Alchemy, is that we all have needs, wants, and desires. And it's very difficult for an outsider to, or even for us to always determine, well, is that okay? Maybe I'm being greedy. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe someone else should get that house because I'm not good enough or something. Or maybe someone needs it more than me, so I shouldn't ask for it and I feel bad about it. And with the law of attraction, for example, they say if your vibration is not a match, it won't work. So you might, let's just say, for example, you might severely doubt that you could actually get that house, and you might feel guilt about asking for it. But Pendulum Alchemy dispenses with all that, because number one, you're saying only if in the highest good. So you're just asking for what you want.
Yeah.
And it'll only work out if it's in the highest good, because that was your statement of intention.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, since you are saying this, it is leaving your energy field and creating its own form, and then it's getting magnified by the spinning action of the pendulum, so it becomes separate from your energy field, and it's the success or failure is not very dependent on your vibration. So you can completely doubt what you're saying, and it can still have an effect. And that's a cool thing about Pendulum Alchemy, is because you don't need to be in a special meditative state, or you don't need to be in some certain brainwave or something. You could be in a crisis situation, you could be stressed, you could be negative, you could be self-doubting, and you can make a statement like that and it could still work. Now, on top of that, it's always good to take some real world actions. So for you, you'd want to be watching that house, see when it goes on sale. You might even want to contact the owners of the house, find out if they're willing to sell it. You want to start researching financing, like how much money do I have? How much do I need to save? What kind of loan can I get? Are the interest rates good right now? Who do I want to work with, to help me purchase the home and to get the financing? So And the Pendulum Alchemy can also support you with that process. So every step of the way, like, so first step is like, let's say you're going to contact the owners of the home or the realtor or whoever is in charge of selling it. Do some pendulum, like harmonize my relationship with, let's just say, the realty expert who's going to sell the house. I don't know what they call it in England. In America, they call it a realtor.
Yeah, they
So
just call it estate agents here.
what was that?
An estate agent.
Okay, great. So, so
Yeah.
you could say, harmonize my relationship with the estate agent. So I witnessed Kelly harmonizing her relationship with the estate agent and all people known and unknown with the sale of that house. Send all people known and unknown who are involved with the potential sale of this house and the ownership of this house, send them love and raise their consciousness to the highest levels possible, if it's in their highest good and the highest good of all concerned. And that's important because it's not manipulative. You're just giving them an invitation, and if they energetically want to take it, they will. If they don't, they won't. Okay.
And would you just let it go after that, or would you continue to work? Like, I know this house is having its roof replaced at the moment, so it's going to be a bit of a time. But
I would send love and healing to the roofers.
Yeah.
I would witness the roof repair going perfectly.
Okay. Yeah.
And like, so basically what you do is you don't want to, you can repeat, but you don't want to repeat out of self-doubt.
Yeah.
So now this is where I call Pendulum Alchemy an art and a science, because like the science would be like you make an observation and you come up with an idea of how you're going to address it with your pendulum, and then you try it out and you see what happens. So right now, you're making some statements about the house, you're trying it out and you're going to see what happens. Now, given that it sounds like the process of selling this home is still in the early stages, you can repeat this command again, but you would also want to be a little strategic. Like, you'd want to observe what's going on there.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, right now they're repairing the roof. So why not just send love and healing to the men or women working on the roof, witness the roof repair working out perfectly, neutralize any trauma to the spirit of the house that the roof repair could be causing, because the house has like its own energy body. You could do a chakra healing on the house. You could do a meridian healing on the house. You could do an aura healing. You could be sending love to the house itself. Send love to the workers. You could send love to the estate agent. You can send love to the owners or the bank or whatever. You could do all kinds of things. But basically, you observe where you're at, and then do work on that. And then when you get to the next place, do some work on that. You get to the next place, do some work on that. And then combine that with real world actions.
Yeah.
So like right now, I would be researching what are the prices for houses in the market right now that are similar to that.
Yeah.
Where am I going to get the financing? Am I ready? If they were to say tomorrow the house is available, am I ready now with the financing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So start preparing yourself as if it's going to occur.
Yeah.
But then use the pendulum to support each step. So like, let's say you're going to go to the bank. Do some pendulum around that to witness it working out for the highest good. Yeah. Then, you get the loan, or you get the money you need. Then you're going to contact the estate agent, do some pendulum that's going to go well. Yeah. They accept your offer. And then you have to finalize the offer, do some pendulum that's going to go well. Yeah. And then you're going to move into the house, do some pendulum that's going to go well. So like every time there's a juncture or a change, you can do it.
Yeah, there's like little steps along the way, isn't there?
Exactly. And that's why I call it alchemy, because alchemy is a series of steps that transform one thing into another. Yeah. And it's usually something of like lower value to higher value. So right now you want to be in this house, you're not there, and you want to get to that point of get to the house. So you do it in a step-by-step process. Now, sometimes it will just jump and go straight there. Like, who knows, maybe after this call, your neighbor will walk over and say, hey, you want to buy our house? You never know, but often it's more of a gradual step-by-step process where you're trying to, get to where you want to go.
Yeah.
And now the interesting thing is too, like, let's say it's not in your highest good to live in that house, or maybe it's in someone else's highest good to be there. what's cool about pendulum alchemy is that many times it will work out in unexpected ways. Like let's say you go through this, you get the loan, you're like all ready to go, but then something happens where you don't end up getting that house.
Yeah.
Many times, all of a sudden, another house is even better will become available.
Yeah. It's like a
And
redirect.
yeah, like all of a sudden someone will say, hey, did you check out that house around the corner? It's got a much nicer garden. You could hold events there. It's cheaper, and it's newer, or something, who knows?
Yeah.
Like a lot of times that happens when you do this work. Since you're doing it for the highest good of all, it works in unexpected ways because a lot of times our ego wants to get a result.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's good to get that result, but sometimes there's a better result that we may not even be aware of.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times people say like, oh, it didn't work out like I wanted. I'm like, just be patient because
Yeah.
something else could happen that's even better. And I've seen that a lot, like when I help people with lawsuits, when they're in court, like something will happen and the trial will be postponed or there'll be a delay or something. And the person will be like, oh no, I'll be, wait a minute. Oh yes. This means that there's now some new opportunities that are coming in.
Yeah.
Or people will say like, I did it for this. Like they'll say like, oh, I want to heal my leg or something. And they do the pendulum and then their leg is still in pain. But then all of a sudden the next day they find out about this amazing massage therapist who's like world renowned. They didn't even know that it was in their neighborhood and they get like a free session or something. So like, it's not always linear. Like the point to get from the starting point to the end point, many times you do this work and then it takes you somewhere else, but it gets you where you want to go, but it's not necessarily a linear path.
Sure.
So that's another interesting thing about it. Anyway.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I think before I saw that house, I was a bit stuck in this house. I was sort of like, I just couldn't imagine being in a different house. And I do love this house. But then I saw that house and it has got a better garden and things like that. And partly because of my dog. I was like, oh, I want that garden for my dog. But it opened up my mind to the possibility that even if that one doesn't work out, I can now view others rather than feeling like I have to stay here. So even that in itself has opened up something in me to say, hey, this is possible,
Oh, it's very empowering.
Yeah.
You're taking your power back. You're not just. And now another thing about houses. So I didn't mean. Were you complete? I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, sure. Yeah.
Another thing about houses, like now this is where I get a little bit more woo-woo.
Yeah.
Or a little more spiritual.
I
feel like the house has like a spirit or an energy.
Yeah.
So I think when you're in a process of either staying in a house or getting a new house, I feel it's very important to communicate to the spirit of the house.
Okay.
And so like the house that you're currently living in, if you want to move,
Yeah.
I would be sending love to the house, but I would also be trying to, you have a cord or a connection to the house. And what my view of cords is different than other people. Like a lot of people say, oh, just chop the cord, but that's not what I view it at all. What I view is the cord is an essential energetic connection. And it's almost like an umbilicus, like from a baby connected to the mother.
Yeah.
And modern medicine, when the baby is born, they just chop the cord and then it's kind of a violent act. But what you can do instead is if it's really time for you to leave the house, the current house you're in, you can love and honor the house, like send it love and healing, but then also send like, I call it like silver energy. It's like the silver cord in Buddhism. It's the boundary between life and death. You can send silver light to the cord after you've sent it love. And if the cord is ready to end, if your connection to your current house is ready to end and it's time for you to move, then that cord will naturally like wither. It's almost like the trees falling off the leaves in the winter time. The leaves falling off the trees in the winter. It's like a natural process. It's not violent. It's not artificial. So you can also, and then you could also make statements with your pendulum like, if it's in my highest good, I will move from my current location and find a better place. And then you can make another statement. If it's in my highest good, I will stay here and not move. I I call it, yeah, it's like you can make contradictory statements like that, and the one with the stronger energy will win.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's another thing I do when there's uncertainty. I just say like, I witness myself doing this, I witness myself not doing this, and
Yeah.
then I just send energy to both possibilities. That's one way you can do it. Or you can just, if you really know like it's time for me to move, you just honor the place where you currently live, but then you start ending that connection, because you can't get to a new place unless you end the connection with your current place. It's the
Yeah.
same thing if you want to sell an item, like you want to sell your car or you want to sell goods. You have an energetic link to them, and if you don't end that link, then they can't go to a new owner.
Right.
So like with the house, with the spirit of the house, you can say like, I honor you, spirit of the house. Thank you for having me here during this time. I'm thinking I want to move, but I want to thank you for the time. And if it's still like in our mutual benefit for me to be here, let's work it out. And then you can also communicate to the spirit of the house you want,
Yeah.
and say, I'd like to live in you. And you can use your pendulum to do this. You can even magnetize, like if you want to just have a conversation, like not necessarily a command, you can just spin the pendulum while talking. You can just say, spirit of the house, if it's in my highest good, I really like to move in to you, and I would honor you and respect you. But it has to be a good fit for both of us. So the pendulum magnifies whatever you say. So it doesn't have to necessarily be a command. Commands are very effective because they are like sending a very strong signal
Yeah.
or stimulus that can provoke a response.
Yeah.
But you can also just make prayers or statements if you want to be a little more, if you need to talk a little more, and you can just spin your pendulum while saying it.
What do you think about talking to body parts with your pendulum on that note? I've had
Sure.
a sort of strange health journey where I've had a couple of kidney transplants and things in my past. I was blind for 4 years at one point. And I once came across a lady who she was using homeopathic remedies, but she'd just hold them above my body. And then she'd ask me to tune in and tell her whether it was a positive feeling or a negative feeling, as to whether that was the right remedy. And it was really amazing for me. I'd never come across anything like that before, and I was like, I could really feel that. And I was just thinking about that with the pendulum, in terms of like, so I've got a transplanted kidney in at the moment, which is working extremely well, but I'd love to send it love and things through the
That's a great idea.
and
Definitely. I mean,
obviously
you
anyone
could.
go on.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was just going to say, anyone with any health issues, if you could tell us anything on that, then we could, change
Oh, definitely.
health issue.
Definitely, of course, yeah. So like in your situation there, the kidney was transplanted, so there was some trauma from that experience. It's in a new body now.
Yeah.
And so like one thing I would do with the pendulum, now you said it's working well for you, which is good, but like you can always say, neutralize any trauma from the experience.
Yeah.
Neutralize any trauma in the kidney, neutralize any trauma in my body from the experience of having the kidney transplanted into me.
Actually, it was my friend's kidney. He's also
Oh,
called
wow.
Eric.
Wow, it's amazing. What a beautiful soul to help you
Yeah,
like that.
just amazing. I did
And
do,
then you could also neutralize any trauma from him losing the kidney.
yeah.
It's always important to do healing on other things too that are related. So in that case, you're going to do healing on yourself, on your kidney, on his body too.
Yeah.
And because you're all connected energetically now.
Yeah.
So then you can send love to your new kidney, and to both your kidneys, actually. You could send love to your new kidney. Yeah.
I've actually got 4. No, 4.
Oh, 4. Oh, wow. Okay. So
Okay.
send love to the kidneys.
All the kidneys. And that was something very interesting, because when they told me my kidneys were failing, and I had my first transplant 15 years ago, And it was almost like I'd disconnected myself from the fact that I still had these other two kidneys, which were my natural kidneys. It was only recently I became aware that, hang on, I've been ignoring those and they're still in my body.
This is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is where I talk about observation is important. So
yeah.
So having that knowledge changes how I'm going to do this a little bit, because what you're also going to want to do is you're going to want to harmonize the relationship of the new kidneys to the old kidneys.
Yeah.
You're going to want to send love and healing to the old kidneys.
Yeah.
So we can go through and do some of that. So, like harmonize the relationships between my kidneys.
Relationships between all of my kidneys.
And when you're ready, let me know. Now, the pendulum doesn't need to spin very long. I usually just let it spin like maybe 2 to 4 spins per command. And then you could say, I witness all my kidneys working perfectly together.
Well, that feels so powerful.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then send love to the kidneys that are there. You could say something like, I thank you kidneys and my body for accepting the new kidneys.
I feel like my body's gone into this sort of bliss state.
Oh, okay, cool.
It feels like, oh
good.
That's amazing. And so
and then witness this all working out for the highest good. You can do more later, but like for now, we can just end it with like, I witness my body functioning well, in ways that are for my highest good, and the highest, or witness these kidneys functioning with my body in ways that are for the highest good.
And you could do this with whatever is going on in your body, if it's slightly out of balance.
Exactly.
Things you could just.
Exactly. Yeah. So, you can do it for your body. And then your example was a good one, because you're also going to want to do some work on the person who donated the kidneys.
Yeah.
You might also want to do some work on the experience, like when you went to the hospital. Like I have this time machine protocol where you can go back in time and do healing on the event that happened in the past. Like if there was anything that happened during the surgery that wasn't right or was weird, you can do healing on that. And like you could there are so many different avenues you can go with this. But it gives you sort of an idea of what you can do.
Yeah, a lady who recommended me get in contact with you, because I sort of thought you were a bit out of my range. I was like, no, he won't want to do. And she said, oh, I'm sure he will, and he does this amazing thing with going back and forward in time. And although my kidney surgeries actually were very good, and my first surgery, I had a lovely surgeon who we actually talked about the positive statements he was going to say.
Oh my God, it's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, so he was lovely. But I had, previous to that, I had a tube put into my stomach for dialysis. When I came round from it, I felt traumatized. I couldn't look at it. I felt like something awful had happened while I was in surgery, and I didn't know how to do anything with it. It caused me so much pain, and it turned out they'd put it in wrong, and it was creating like friction against, I think it was against my bowel, and luckily they took it out, because it was so painful. But I remember trying to do work on it, and so I was just giving it healing basically. But that protocol would be amazing for something like that.
Right, let's do a short version of it right now, just to illustrate. Because basically, now I'll try to keep this part brief.
Yeah.
All scientists are they all agree that everything that happened in the past exists forever.
Yeah.
So they think of it as like film. The only controversy in science is what is the future? Is the future already determined? Is it a process that's in creation, etc. But the past, they all agree, every theory of time agrees that the past exists forever. So on an energetic level, the past can still be affecting us.
Yeah.
And so what I realized, that if you have with intention, you could bring yourself back to the past and do some healing. And you don't have to really even know the exact time frame. In your case, it's very clear, though. We can just say when the dialysis tubes were inserted.
Yeah.
So what we could do is we could say, okay, take us back into time when Kelly's dialysis tubes were inserted. Or even, yeah, we can do that. Or you could do it even before that, or take us back. You can also say this. If you're not sure of when to go back, you could say, take me back to the perfect time to do some healing work on the dialysis tubes that Kelly had inserted into her body that did not work well. So I don't know the exact time, but our subconscious mind will find that time.
Yeah.
And then you just let the pendulum spin, and then eventually it's going to kind of stop spinning. So mine stopped. Yours is, yeah, now yours is stopping. So now we're at that time. So now you do healing. And we don't even know exactly when that time is, but you can say, like, I witnessed this procedure with the dialysis going correctly, with the dialysis tube insertion actually working out perfectly. I witnessed the doctors, surgeons, and nurses correctly inserting the tube so that it doesn't cause any pain or trauma to Kelly's body. Harmonize the tube insertion with her body and harmonize the tube itself with her body. Neutralize any negative side effects of the tube being inserted. Neutralize any trauma from the tube insertion. Send love and healing to everyone involved, including Kelly, to this surgical event. I witnessed a new reality where the tube was inserted, it did not cause any pain, and it was eventually removed. Now, this is something better. Highest good of all concerned. So take us back to the present moment. Okay.
I mean, that's amazing. And the funny
Yeah, so
was,
go ahead. Sorry.
You know, you were saying sometimes things don't work out how you want them to. Well, when that all happened, it was a very traumatic 6 months. But the tube got taken out in the end, and I refused to. They wanted me to go on what we call hemodialysis, which is in hospital. And I said, no, I'm not doing it, because I've looked at the people in the hospital, and they all, I was about 32 at this time, and they just look like they're dying, you know. And so they couldn't force me to go back on dialysis. So they said, we'll be able to put a new tube in the other side in about 8 weeks. But in the meantime, we'll just blood test you twice a week to make sure your potassium level doesn't go too high. And in that time, my kidneys got better and better. And I went back on dialysis and I lasted another 9 months. And that's when I got my transplant, my first one, which was also a pancreas. So it was a kidney and a pancreas. And the doctors and consultants, they actually ended up, they said, we're really sorry, you know, that because they did put the second tube in just in case. That we put that in because you never needed it. But I said, well, you weren't to know, you know. It was one of those things, and it was much less painful than the first one. So that bit of it was far, you know. I'm so glad that they did take it out, but also the pain of it in that time, and feeling so much that there was something that had gone on in that surgery. Yeah, it was a really strange.
Right. So you can still do more work on this, like, because what we did was we just witnessed a new reality, but you can also go back and you could neutralize, you could do healing on like the emotions that you were feeling in that time, or the trauma, or you could do color healing, like you could send different colors that would have helped you at that time, or you can send classical elements, like the forces of the classical elements to help you. You could do like things called resonance statements where you get your thinking and feeling in alignment. Like my thinking and feeling is going to be in alignment that I will overcome this trauma, or that you could like make different statements like that. There are just many different directions you can go with this. So like the time machine healing is just a vehicle, or you could bring yourself back to that time. And then if you know another healing modality, you can do that on yourself at that time. So like you can send yourself like Reiki or something, or energy or something like that. Or, you could also I have like an archangels course. You could work with the archangels to help heal you.
Yeah.
From that experience, if there's still lingering trauma from that. So there's so many different avenues you can take this, and it can complement both real world actions like medical procedures, but also it can also complement other energy techniques or manifestation techniques. You can use the pendulum alchemy to magnify them or make them stronger, or to provide a different sort of approach. So let's say you wanted to do some Reiki healing on yourself.
Yeah.
You could use your pendulum to first heal your chakras.
Yeah.
And then that way the Reiki energy doesn't have to heal your chakras. You can do it very quickly with the pendulum. Like I have a free course where you can just learn how to do this in 5 minutes. Yeah. So you could do a very quick chakra healing on yourself or a person. And then when you send them the Reiki or do the massage or do the acupuncture or whatever it is, their energy system is more in alignment, so they can receive that other healing even better. So that's another thing about pendulum alchemy. It's meant to often supplement other things. Or like when you go to the doctor, if you now you had a good experience, but a lot of times it's not a good experience.
Yeah.
So you can harmonize relations, raise the consciousness of all the staff, so a lot of times when I've helped people who are in the hospital, the doctors will later comment to the person like, wow, we've never seen anyone recover that quickly, or the procedure went, it was so easy to do and it went so fast. Wait, hold on, someone's at my house. Hello? Oh, okay. Oh, it's my, sorry about that. Anyway, so it's really amazing how that works out. It's interesting to see.
So anyone who's had a past trauma of any type can go back to the time, because their unconscious mind knows when that was, even if you can't remember the date, time, or year. You can
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I realized that when I was developing this method, it was like you don't even really need to know, because your subconscious mind is so aware of so many things that the knowledge is in there, and it will just get you back. Because the hand movement is what causes the pendulum movement, in my view. And so when the pendulum is spinning, it's your subconscious mind communicating with you, trying to do something. So anyway, so the subconscious is aware of when these things happen. So you could have something happen to you like when you were born, where you're not fully conscious yet, but it's still registered in your subconscious. Or it could even be like a past life thing, like where your subconscious, because when your body dies, there's a lot of evidence that, at least in some cases, your consciousness can survive the death of the physical body. Like some medical research that demonstrates that's possible. So there is this possibility that you may not be consciously aware of something, but with intention you can go back and find that perfect time because your subconscious is fully aware of it.
Yeah, that's just made me think about some of the conditioning you have in your childhood. If we think of something like abundance and being able to create as you wish, materially, as well as life in general and your relationships and things. I was just thinking, I had a client recently whose parents had consistently said to her, money doesn't grow on trees, if you want something, you have to work really hard for it, and she suffered from that belief, because as much as she's tried to clear and get into alignment and, you know, think that she's going to be wealthy and all of those things, she's still got this little voice in her head that will say things like, yes, but money doesn't grow on trees, you know. And I was just thinking you could use that, couldn't you, to go back to the time when you sort of took that belief on, to
Oh yeah.
neutralize that belief with your parents.
Right. So yeah, completely. So I would, for like that, for that kind of belief system, I would use the time machine healing,
Yeah.
go back to when that was first heard and like neutralize that statement. Then I would also do a technique that me and one of my students developed called resonance healing, where
Okay.
you get your thinking and feeling in alignment. So like she knows logically that money doesn't grow on trees, but her energy field is carrying that signature. So the resonance statement in the simplest form, it's like, I now dissolve any blocks to thinking and or feeling that, you know, I can be abundant, or that money doesn't grow on trees, or you can make many statements, and the
Yeah.
pendulum can energize that, and then it's working on an energetic level.
Yeah.
Same thing, like I have this emotional healing course. I had a free course for a long time, but now I'm revising it and making a more extensive course I'm going to offer. And that's working on the energy level. So like normally we would have to go to psychotherapy and talk with a therapist for years about how our parents traumatized us around money. And while I'm not, that's fine. You can definitely do that. But there's still going to be this energetic component that's not going to be addressed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like with the emotional healing with the pendulum, she could heal the emotions that are around that.
Yeah.
There could be a lot of complicated emotions because children love their parents, they trust their parents, they're trying to learn how to safely navigate the world,
Yeah.
you
And
know.
witnessing the environment they're in, because obviously for their parents' money, you know, maybe they didn't have loads
Right,
of
the
money.
parents may have really
Yeah. So they're
suffered, and
seeing
and
it.
that was their defense mechanism to help them cope with the reality that they didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
So like they just make a statement like that so that they don't feel the pain of not having money themselves. So that, you know, well, if, you know, rich people are bad or money doesn't grow
Yeah.
on trees.
Yeah.
It's like almost like a defense mechanism, but they don't realize that they're actually wounding the kid emotionally,
Yeah.
who then takes on those limiting beliefs, and the kid may not have those. The kid may have much more of a propensity to earn money and make money
Yeah.
if they were not shackled by those beliefs. So yes, and so there, yeah, so like what I would do is I would do like the time machine, I would do resonance healing to get thinking and feeling in alignment. I would start doing just regular commands. I might do emotional healing. I would want to send certain colors because colors represent archetypal forces. And
Mm.
like every time like she wants to do a money making action, like I don't, is that woman like a business owner, or she have a job, or you don't have to tell me your name or anything, but like,
Yeah, sure. Her husband has lots of businesses. And I mean, in terms of me, like I sort of think of them as quite an abundant family in general. But for them, I think they feel like there's lots of blocks to them moving forward with various things. There's always things coming in that block certain things. You know, it might be the sale of a house or something like that,
right. So
but
yeah,
it
so for them,
blocks.
I would study their particular case. Like this is how I would approach it. I would study there and learn all the peculiarities of how they view it, whether it's objectively real or not. You know? Yeah, and then I would start targeting it. So it's like, okay, so like, you know, so we're going to do some general work on your feelings about abundance, about receiving, and about giving, and everything like related to that. But then specifically, all right, you know, like your husband's selling this property right now, or your husband's involved with this business deal right now.
Yeah,
So then you could do pendulum alchemy on that. Like, because if he has a strong block to thinking or feeling that he can successfully do this deal,
yeah,
it's going to make it less likely to occur. So if you could on an energetic level help to resolve that tension, it will make it more likely that it can happen. And then while he's engaged in the deal, you could do pendulum alchemy to like harmonize his relationships with all people involved with the deal, have the deal work if it's in the highest good of all, raise everyone's vibration, and then that all can make it more likely to happen. So like I've helped a lot of people with sales.
Yeah.
It's very effective. And it's not like manipulative sales. It's
No.
like they're selling a good product or a good service or a good something that they feel in integrity about. But people have all kinds of like limitations sometimes in knowing what's even good for them. They're interested, but they have so you can do this kind of work and help create a situation where they get the product, you get the sale, everyone's happy.
Yeah.
And it works out. So yeah, that's how I would do it. I would study their particular case and I would pull out all the stops. So I might do the time machine, emotion, color healing, maybe send the forces of classical elements. Once they're working on a deal, I would work on the relationships between the parties. If it's a business deal that's going to last for several months or something, it will take on a life of its own. So it might develop its own chakra system or meridian system, the deal itself.
Yeah.
And then you can work on the chakras of the deal.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know.
I love it.
It's kind of odd, but you can do group healings. You could do a group healing on both parties as being a single organism.
Yeah.
And you want to create harmony and function within that. So you could do an energy healing on the aura of the group, of the chakras of the group, the meridian system of the group. Yeah. And that's all possible with the pendulum alchemy.
I love it.
And other healing methods too, but the pendulum alchemy is one way you can do it.
Yeah. Could you tell us a little bit about the natural elements and the archetype thing? Because that would be really interesting. Like, because I was thinking, are you talking about things like earth, air, water? What's the other? Fire? Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it's a great question. Yeah. So I do a lot of research on esoteric studies like classical alchemy, magic, occultism, but always in the high vibe positive sense. And I'm mostly interested in stuff from the past.
Yeah.
And so I was very interested in the ancient Greeks and their view of the elements, and also the ancient Chinese, so the Taoists, their view of the elements. Right. And so I began a study of that. And one insight I had was that the rising and setting of the sun is a cycle. So in the morning, the sun rises over the horizon, it gets brighter and brighter, and then in the afternoon, it starts to set, and it looks like it goes down into the earth, and then it disappears, and then it becomes dark, and then it comes back. And what I realized was that the classical elements of the Greeks and the element system of the ancient Chinese Taoists, that it was illustration of the rising and setting of the sun. So, for example, the rising of the sun is the element of air, because smoke or air rises just like the sun is rising.
Yeah.
And then the main part of the day when the sun is in the sky, that's the element of fire, because the sun is its brightest, it's very bright and strong. Then as the sun sets into the earth, that's the element of earth, because the fire is transforming into ashes. The sun is going into the earth. So it's almost like when you're burning a stick.
Yeah.
It turns into dirt. So it's like the sun disappears. It's almost like it's burning out and it's turning into dirt and disappearing.
Okay.
And then the night is the period between while the sun is setting and it before midnight, so like sunset to midnight, that's the element of the earth. And then you have the night, which is the water element. Okay. So and so those are the things. Now it's interesting when you know this, because or when you have this insight, because a lot of practices that people do start to make sense. So like when people want to do a clearing of like spirits, they'll use sage or smoke, or incense, things like that. Like Catholic Church uses a lot of incense. Shamans use smudge and smoke. So why do they do that? Because it corresponds to the element of air, which corresponds to the rising sun. So when the sun rises, it creates a new day and it clears away everything that was old from the day before. So it's like you're starting from scratch. It's like, and also the nighttime is the spirit realm. from 12 midnight till 3 in the morning is when it's the time of spirits. So when the sun rises, spirits go away.
Yeah.
So when you use sage or smoke or incense, you're clearing away all the spirits for the night, and it's like a fresh start. It's like a new day.
Yeah.
Right. And then the element of fire, you know, it's like the life force. It's almost like life itself. You know, our bodies give off heat. You know, like people burn candles. So like when they burn candles and things like that, that's to pull in the element of fire, like in a ritual.
And is that
And
action
yeah.
oriented? Like action, fire is sort of actiony. It's sort
Right,
of
and it's
dynamic.
giving off energy. So like when you're alive, your body, like all organisms when they're alive, their bodies are giving off energy and using energy. So it's like a burning stick.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
Sort of similar idea. Then the element of earth, it's like everything. It's like the living part now is going away, and what you're left with is the non-living stuff. So it's like dirt, rocks, metal, things like that. So that's a force of ending.
Okay.
So that's why a lot of rituals and magic and religious ceremonies, they use like crosses, swords, chalices, all kind of, because you're drawing in that element of the earth, the ending element, like crystals, things like that. That's all the ending element. And then water represents the spirit realm or the afterlife. And like, you know, all life evolved from water. So it's like it came from energy, like spirit went manifested into reality through the water. But that's like why they baptize people. It's like you're putting them into the afterlife and then pulling them out, and now they're baptized. Now they're spiritual beings.
Yeah.
Because they've been intentionally put into the spirit realm and brought back.
Yeah.
Or like why shamans throw the agua de Florida on people. It's to bring in that spiritual energy. And that's why they call alcohol spirits, because it's a liquid, it's a spirit, it's the spirit realm, water. So I don't know if that's making sense, but basically what you can do is these elements, air represents the creation of something new, fire represents life force, earth represents ending, water represents the spirit realm. You can use your pendulum to invoke these forces to stimulate shifts and changes to occur.
Oh, I love it.
So like let's say you want to end bad relationship. You can say, like, I now send the element of earth to end this relationship.
Right.
The setting of the sun into the earth. So it's this ending, the fire is burned out. You know, if in the highest good. Or, you know, when you want to manifest something new, you can invoke the element of water, because everything has to come from the energy realm to manifest onto the earth. So you can say, now invoke the element of water to manifest something new in my life. Or you could manifest, you could use the element of air to, like, you know, to help bring, to help develop something. Let's say you start a new business or something, or a new endeavor. You could say, I now energize this with the element of air to help this new thing start to grow and develop. Or if you want to like vitalize something or revitalize, you can say, I now send the energy of fire to bring vitality and health to this. So there's like a whole, like you can use the force of invocation, like you can call upon the force and then bring it into your realm and then try to get it to cause changes.
Oh, that's so interesting, and I love it. I mean, I love mornings. Like, I literally get up at 5 a.m. to get out and walk because, excuse me, I always think it's the air is clear and it's the beginning of a new day. And I've always felt that so strongly. Like even when I didn't have a dog, when I had a horse before that, you know, so I'd be up with the horses in the morning and stuff. But I felt like, you're embracing this new energy and you've got so much potential. And then the way you've explained it makes me feel like, and then as the sun comes up, you've sort of started to create something with your new day, and then it's going into action, and then it's grounding, and then finally at night it sort of goes into spirit. So that makes so much sense.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I have another level of that explanation too. I feel like it reflects the stages of a human life. So in my view, the morning is conception and the development of the child in the womb. And then at 12, it's the birth. So in the morning, there's all this new potential. The egg and sperm come together. The baby is growing in the womb. But then at 12 noon, when the sun reaches its highest point, it's like the birth of the child. Now the child is free. So in the earlier part of the day, there are long shadows. There's still remnants of the night. But then at 12 noon, the night is now completely gone and the sun is now free to have its influence on the world. And then the afternoon is all about, it's like the human life. It's like, so the child developing into an adult. So everything that's going to happen in the day. So it all starts, the process starts in the morning, but then the afternoon is when it all kind of plays out.
Right.
And it's just like the human life. The baby then grows into an adult.
Yeah.
And then as the sun sets, that's like old age and the body's starting to fail. And then it's like the process of dying. So it's like you don't die at once. You die in a series of stages gradually over time. So that's like the setting of the sun. And then even when the sun is below the horizon, there's still some light from, because the earth is curved, there's like some light comes up. But it's just like that when a person is dying, even like until the very final stages, like there's still some life force that's still there. But then at midnight, it's over. The sun is now dead. It's just like a person dying. And the sun still exists somewhere else. Just like when a person dies, their spirit exists. It's just not visible anymore. So it's in like this afterlife realm that's not visible, but it's still there. Just like the sun, even though you can't see it at 12 midnight directly, unless you see it like on the moon, it's kind of like a ghost of the sun almost or something. You know, it seems like it's dead, the sun. So, but it's in this afterlife, and then it reincarnates in the morning again. So I see it like the human life. There's conception, birth, the life itself, and then there's this deincarnation or deconception period. Then there's death, then there's an afterlife, and it just keeps going around and around. So anyway.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh,
I feel like I could talk to you for hours, Eric.
I know.
I'm sort of aware of, for YouTube, we sort of try and keep it around an hour, but I just wondered quickly before we wrap up, do you want to show us some of your pendulums that you've
Sure.
so that people can see them, and then they can find these on your website, can't they?
Right. Yeah. So what I realized is that pendulums are energy healing tools or manifestation tools. And due to their shape and composition, they can stimulate different effects. So like when I put this pendulum in my aura or somebody else's aura, their body responds to it. And it has this, in this particular case, this one has a very strong healing effect. So this one is made out of plastic, but it has metal impregnated into it, like metal shavings.
Okay.
And it has a very strong effect on the body of humans and animals. I call it the 3D healer. And it really stimulates healing responses. Like if you have a stomach ache or something and you use this, many times it'll just go away. Or if you have an ache or a pain, you use it, it'll just go away. Because the body senses a signal and then it allows the body to heal itself. Another one I have.
That's the 3D healer.
Then I have this one here, the Merkaba. It's a sacred geometry design.
Yeah.
And this one, it works amazingly well in the chakras and the aura system. So like I'll use this over, like you can use this and you can very quickly heal like a person's chakra system. Once I found a mouse that was like caught in a trap. It was like half dead, and I just spun this. I got it out of the trap and then I hung it, spun this over for a long time. And after about like a half hour, it came back to life and it just escaped. So this thing is like really strong, but it has a very different shape than a normal pendulum. It has this kind of geometric shape. I have several that are like that with the geometric shapes. Like this is the tree of life. It has the tree with the DNA spiral for the trunk, and then it has the womb or the vesica, the Christ symbol, the vesica Pisces on the edges.
Yeah. What's that one for?
Oh, the tree of life.
Yeah.
Then I have this flower of life one that has the flower of life repeated over and over, and I made it in the shape of an egg because the egg is like the cosmic egg or the source of all creation. So I kind of incorporate sacred geometry in with it, and it has really good like energy that's very healing. So it really stimulates a healing response in the body. Other pendulums I have are like sculpture type pendulums, but they're very powerful. Like this one is called the skull.
This really appeals to my goth side here.
This is Yeah, like some people are scared of this one.
Love it.
Everyone who has this pendulum though absolutely loves it. The
Yeah.
energy is so strong, and people have gotten amazing healing responses from it. And yeah, it would definitely appeal to the goth side.
Yeah.
And I've got some other ones like that too that are like really amazing healing ones. Like I've got this one, the snake wrapped around a pole.
Wow.
It's called the rod of Asclepius, but it's also the staff of Moses. It's the international symbol of medicine.
Yes.
Another powerful one. So I found that sometimes if you have a general pendulum shape, you can put a sculpture on it and it will create a very powerful pendulum.
Wow.
I have another one like that called the Hathor. It's this Egyptian goddess of fertility,
Lovely.
and she's got a little sun on her head. Other ones I have are more traditional. Like I have this Mount Shasta one I designed. It's more of a traditional style pendulum.
Are you near Mount Shasta in Arizona?
Oh yeah, I've been there. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Have you ever been there?
No, I've never even
Oh,
been to
it's
America.
when you go to Mount Shasta, you feel like a giant UFO is going to crest over the mountain at any point. It's the energy is unbelievable, and there's all kinds of like fairy energy there, and it's a very interesting place. This one's the Orion pendulum,
Okay.
named after the constellations. I put the 3 stars in the middle. It's more of a traditional design. This one was sort of my signature pendulum. The Hunter Healer is the first one I created with a company that develops pendulums. I also have some very untraditional pendulums that work really well. Like I have this bone pendulum.
Oh wow.
Turns out bones make really good healing pendulums. And they're very lightweight. You can wear them. It looks like a tribal necklace. They don't set off metal detectors, so they're really easy to carry around. Also antlers of deer.
Wow.
You can make really good, this one here, you can make really good pendulums out of these for healing and doing work. Because big misconception people have is like from pendulum dowsing where people just answer questions. You can use pretty much anything you want for a pendulum, but with pendulum alchemy, you really need to use pendulums that have very good energy. And I make several, other people make some good ones too. So I'm not the only one doing this, but they're really energy healing tools, and you can't just use any random object. Like you can't use a needle on a string or like a crucifix or a coin or anything or a ring. They're just, the energy is not going to work.
Yeah.
Some pendulums are just not good for this. Like I really recommend you against using clear crystal pendulums. And it's too much to go into now, but there's some potential drawbacks to them. And also copper, pure copper. Brass is good. Like this one I designed is made of brass, and that works well. But the pure copper ones, the energy is too strong, and it kind of messes up the energy field of people. So it's important to get the right tools. So that's why I have so many different ones. And they always have a string on them because it protects you from energetic contamination. It kind of insulates you from energy coming up in your hand.
Wow, that is what a just amazing collection, isn't it? And anyone who's interested in those can look on the website, and they're all on there, aren't they? So
all available
to purchase.
Yeah, my inventory does change every now and then because I make all these custom. Like I sit down, I draw a design, then I have an artist help me translate it, and then I have to find people to make it for me. And it can be very difficult, especially after COVID. So I try my hardest to keep them all in stock, but sometimes some will go in, some will go out. Sometimes I come up with a new design, but a lot of these, like the Merkaba, I always have. Flower of Life, I usually always have. Hunter Healer, I always have. Some of the other ones. So yeah.
Oh, cool! Thank you so much, Eric.
Thank you.
So intriguing and so much information, and I'm sure everyone is going to really benefit from watching this video. What we'll do is we'll wrap it up now, but I'd love to speak to you again sometime if you're willing, and we can go through
definitely
any old subject that you want.
Yeah, definitely. And for those of you watching, I have 2 free courses that are completely free, and you can take them and just start trying this right away, because I'm a firm believer that try before you buy. So I really want to just teach people this, and I try to make a fair exchange. But I also want people just to try it out and just get experience with it. So yeah, so when you go on my website, there are 2 free courses. Check them out and just try doing it for yourself and see, do I see any results or not?
Yeah, and that's really generous of you because, you know, these things take a lot of effort and time, don't they?
Oh, it
Writing
does.
it,
Yeah,
producing it, putting
totally.
it on film. So highly recommend those. I did them recently and got a lot out of them. So, you know, they're wonderful. And just have a look at all the other courses as well, because there's tons, isn't there? I'm
Oh,
definitely,
lots of information. I'm
yeah.
constantly coming up with new things. So
Cool. All right. Well, we will say goodbye and thank you to everyone who's watched, and thank you to Eric in particular
thank you,
for giving
Kelly.
us all
Thank you,
this.
audience.
It's been a real pleasure. And we will see you all soon. Please give the video a like and subscribe if you like the content, because it really helps our YouTube channel to grow. But thank you for watching, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Kelly and Frog, the masters of the chess.